Nithyanandam, with the auspicious grace and blessings of my Guru, His Holiness Paramahamsa Nithyananda Swami, or Swamiji, I welcome you to this video, where I speak on a question that may come up if you're thinking about the path of Sanyas. Now, Sanyas means basically a Hindu monk, someone who has dedicated their life to the pursuit and the sharing of the science of enlightenment, which is the purpose of Hinduism. Achieving enlightenment is the purpose of Hinduism. Now, for many, sannyas may feel like this big endeavor where you're dropping all the worldly possessions or leaving what you know of life and starting a new life as a sannyasi. And I can maybe address those from my perspective. But one question you may have, if you've not already made the jump, and if you haven't already made the jump, please check out my video which is called When is the Right Time for Sannyas? What can one do to prepare for sannyas? That's a good question. That means you're already thinking about the path and you want to be maximize your success in the path. So it's like, maybe the best example I can give is someone who's like, what can someone do to prepare for pregnancy? For that moment, when someone is giving birth, there's probably nothing much that can prepare them for that or give them the full picture of that experience. But there are ways, there are things to do to prepare you for that experience. The path itself kind of prepares you for that experience. Once you make that decision, the lifestyle, everything prepares you. So there's actually nothing major to be done except be clear on the decision. But if I were to say there's like anything that one should do, if they've not already taken the jump for sannyas, and this could be something, could be said for anyone, whether you take sannyas or not. Because I found this to be something that helped me make that transition very easily. Excuse me. And that is when you, in your life now, do what you love. Follow your passion. Do something that I would say not just makes you happy, but you feel like you love it. So your passion would be the best example. Revolve your life around that. For me, one of the bigger decisions before I took sannyas. See, prior to taking sannyas, one of my passions, the main passion I had was dancing. Basically, I loved going to clubs and I loved going to hip-hop dance classes. Of course, the people I'm around now they can't believe it, but that's who I was, and they very much defined me at that time. It wasn't like professional or anything, but I was, an amateur just that enjoyed it and, took classes. So when I was, there's one point in my life, I'm from, I grew up in Houston, Texas, and in my mid-20s, I was living there. And there weren't many hip-hop classes. Like, there were some, and many of them were like in the early evening time, like 7 p.m., 7:30. And when you get off work, by the time you can make it there with traffic, everything, it's difficult, and the classes weren't that frequent. So I felt like I wasn't getting enough of those classes. I wasn't getting enough opportunity. And I had heard that in New York City and Los Angeles, there's so many more classes, so many bigger studios, and people go there a lot. So for me, I eventually decided that I wanted to move to New York City, not for a job, not for the people, not for the city, not for the food, not for the experience only, but mainly for the fact that they had dance classes, dance schools, so many of them, and the classes were in the evening. I mean, nighttime. So you could go to a class at 9 p.m., which was perfect for someone who was also working a regular job during the day. And that was not really, like, I can say, maybe a logical decision, that you would literally just go to a city to take classes when you're not even really serious about making that your profession. So it was kind of, it'd be one thing to say, yes, I'm going to pursue my passion as a dancer and make it in New York City, but I didn't really have that mindset either. But I felt, if I'm going to live in this kind of corporate world, I really need to make this dancing more accessible to me. It will give me like the balance, or give me I would enjoy that part of my life. It'd be the more interesting part of my life, as opposed to the daily rut of a corporate job, which I was doing. So once I made that decision, I found the apartment first. In New York City, you have to find an apartment almost before you get the job. So I found the apartment, roommate. We got the apartment, and I got the job also. And what it taught me, even though it was an illogical decision, I was very strong on the decision. I was like, I just knew I was going to be in New York City. And I was going to enjoy the experience. And I did. I was there for almost 4 years. But what it gave me the experience of is aligning my life to what I love. So then when I met Swamiji, it was a different kind of love. It was something, love is not even the right word to describe the connection of the disciple to the guru. Or this, I can only relate with Swamiji to the connection Swamiji's disciples have with him. It's because it's something beyond his charisma. It's beyond the spiritual development. It's something that just raises you to another frequency, and it's something that speaks to you, not just your heart, which is more like a love kind of experience, it's to your being. So when I was experiencing that when I first met Swamiji, and then the opportunity to become an Adinavasi was there, and then potentially Sanyas, I had already made a big decision. For me, it was a big decision to literally leave everything in Houston, go to New York City, and live the life I thought was the best for me at the time. Then when I met Swamiji, I understood, okay, there's another possibility here, which means a possibility that will allow me to be a part of Swamiji's mission, be around Swamiji, and just keep experiencing what I was experiencing when I first met him. So yes, the decision was like a big one. And yes, it may seem like something totally foreign to most people. But for me, because I had the strong decision of moving to New York City kind of gave me a little practice in aligning my life to my passion. And gave me practice to know that the feeling I had for Swamiji was something so extraordinary, something that nothing in my life up until that point could even come close to matching. So even the thing I loved the most, and I talked about this in previous videos, even the passion of dancing, it just paled compared to Swamiji, compared to what I was experiencing with Swamiji and the possibility of life with Swamiji. So if you haven't made that decision to jump for sannyas, if you haven't understood that the purpose, if when you meet a master and the purpose is to achieve enlightenment and be in his presence, then at least follow your passion so that you're aligning to at least what you think you want at that time. So if you haven't met Swamiji, then you'll be ready for meeting him. Your being will be ready. if you have met Swamiji, you'll start to realize that whatever you think as your passion, whatever you think is going to make you happy or you feel is something that's, you haven't quite achieved in life and you want to achieve it, you'll start to realize your tastes in life have shifted, have matured a bit, where you're not chasing some idea of happiness, some idea of fame, some idea of success or love or anything like that. You realize, okay, those things are there. They may not have completely disappeared from your life, but there's something new, something so fresh, something beyond what you would have ever pictured or understood in your life or visualized. Because that's just how Swamiji is. That's what he brings. So, would I ever say don't jump for sannyas? No. But if you're not making the jump, at least align to something you're passionate about. At least look into that. And definitely make sure you're not using that word passion very loosely. It should not be someone else's passion. It should not be driven by anything but knowing that it's going to give you fulfillment. So if you have any questions on it, or how I made the decision, how I made that jump into sannyas, because understand, I was not your typical candidate for sannyas. Even though my family is from India, and I was technically born a Hindu, was not a practicing Hindu, didn't know anything about Hinduism. And I was just telling someone today, for my parents, the shock of sannyas was not so much that I'm taking sannyas and not going to get married and not going to have like a regular life like all the rest of society. It was the fact that I am becoming Hindu, meaning I'm practicing Hinduism, I'm living, I'm in a temple, I'm learning pujas, I'm being a real Hindu as per Swamiji. That was, I think, the shock. That the girl they knew who was afraid to go into temples, had no interest to go into a temple growing up, and now she's running temples, helping devotees and whatnot, and that transformation, that kind of transformation, only happens when you meet an avatar. There's nothing else in my life that would have taken me down this path except Swamiji. So, but I got a taste of taking a jump when I pursued that jump for moving to New York City for me. So I encourage you to, follow your passions, whatever it is, and understand there's something much, much more than even that. And if you'd like to learn more, I encourage you to check out Swamiji's YouTube site, youtube.com/Nithyanandam. There's always a link in my videos. Watch his daily satsang for the US. That's 6:30 a.m. Pacific time at nithyananda.tv. And I'll also keep a link to the program's website where you can see upcoming programs of Swamiji, which are available online. There's actually one this weekend, Attracting Fortune. It's a free program. It's a 2-day workshop which takes place in the morning. It's going to be amazing. People get so many clicks about wealth and fortune and why it's not happening or how it can happen more. And they keep coming back for that because the program is really give them value on such a deep level, which makes them grow, evolve, and become the beings they want to be. So please attend the program. Reach out if you have any questions. Like the video if you liked it, and share it, and let me know if there's any comments or questions or feedback. And thank you, Swamiji, and thank you everyone. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much, and Nithyanandam.